Okay, let us start. Last time we did the annual and semi-annually compounding for the investment or deposit of $200, right? At 7% for 3 years. Okay, so this time we'll continue with the quarterly right here. This quarterly and the monthly and daily. All right, so we could fill in these boxes if we wish, but let's go back to see what we did before. Okay, so maybe we'll put in here semi-annually and maybe drop this down a little bit, and then we can highlight in here. All right, PY is equal to CY and it's equal to 2. I don't think the highlighting worked. Let's see. Okay, there we are. All right, good. So that was that. We did the annual. Annual was right up there. And then this was a semi-annual. Okay, so let's continue now and we can go to the next one, which would be the, which one would the, this one would be, is it weekly or monthly? Okay, quarterly, sorry, quarterly, monthly, and then daily. All right, so let's go here. We will type in quarterly. Right, so if we're doing it quarterly, the frequency here, we would put in quarterly, and this here would be 4 times per year, and this would be 4 times per year. Now it's for 3 years, remember, so it's 3 times 4, that would be equal to 12, but we know that the calculator will do that very readily for us. Now the interest rate was indeed 7%, in case you forgot. It's right up here. Okay, so the deposit was $200, interest rate 7%, and it was for 3 years. And then the compounding frequencies were changing as was seen on this question here, or this column. Okay, so we did the first 2, now we're doing the last 3. So quarterly is for there, the frequency, yes, we just duplicate it to keep in sync with the other, the question in on the quiz. All right, so what are we doing? Sorry, this present value, I told you, you could put in negative. All right, or you could put it positive. It doesn't really matter. If you put it as negative, the payment is definitely 0, and the future value is what is being computed. All right, so maybe we like to highlight that to be sure that you know what is happening. All right, now that having been done, we can now introduce the calculator. And maybe it would be best if we can see both items together. So let's go here and let's expand this. And there we are. Okay, so let's start inputting. Now we know PY and CY, we have to activate the second function to get the PY that's just above the IY. So we go second IY, and that activates PY. So now we want this number in here, this number of 4. So we press on 4, where you see there's no equal sign. When we hit enter, equal. So that means that the value of 4 has been entered for PY. And like I told you before, what is entered for PY is automatically recorded for CY. In this case, it's the same. We can decide to just leave it alone, or we could decide to enter again, and there we have it. And if we press the down arrow or the up arrow, we'll go back to PY and CY. So they're both 4. Now to get out of that menu, we have to quit, and quit is above CPT, so we have to press second and CPT, and we're out of there. Now the next part is to calculate the value for N. So it's 3 years. We put in the number of years, 3. And when I press second N, I actually multiplied it by this 4 right here. Okay, this PY, which is the same as CY. So it gives us the number 12. But that number has to be entered as the value for N. So we have to press N, and there we have the equal sign. So now that number has been entered. So N is now equal to 12. All right, the interest rate is 7%. So we press 7 and we click on IY. And there it is, IY is equal to 7. Okay, the present value, if we put in negative 200, how do we do it? Well, we put 200, we click on the plus minus, and then we press on the present value. And there it is, present value is negative 200. All right, you can say negative that we are no longer in possession of the $200. It's been put into the bank or wherever to increase in value because it does have an interest rate of 7%. All right, 0 is the payment. We're not making any payments or any periodic payments such as quarterly. We're not putting in money 4 times per year. All right, so now we compute future value and we get 246.29. So let's enter that number here, 246.29. All right, we can highlight it in green as indicating, well, it's an answer. The interest earned, like I told you before, it's what the future value. All right, let's do it outside here maybe. Let's come down and put the interest earned is equal to what? Yeah, it's equal to the future value minus the present value. In this case, it's what? 246.29 minus 200. And that gives us 46.29. So that is the amount of interest earned. Okay. And we can put that number in here, 46.29. All right, and that is what was required, and that is what we have finished. So there goes the future value, 246.29, and we can subtract the present value. If we subtract and we recall the present value, I told you before, we must make it positive because we are subtracting, and we press equal, and the answer is 46.29. Now let's go back and enter these numbers. What are they? Well, PY is 4, and likewise CY is also 4. Now what is N? N is the 3 times 4, which gives us 12. The interest rate is still 7%, and the amount that was deposited is still the $200, so we can choose to put in negative 200, especially if we want a positive value for the future value. All right, payment is 0, and we got 246.29. All right, so there we are, 246.29, and the interest earned is 46.29. Okay, now this value has to be positive, of course. It's interest earned, so that number must be entered as a positive number. Okay, so the present value can be entered as a negative, but if the interest earned must be positive, or if you wish, you could enter all of these positive. Okay, and if you wish, you could have gotten a negative value for the future value as is shown up here. Okay, so we can check our answers and we submit. And we should get another set. We're looking at quarterly, so quarterly is right here. Okay, so we're looking at this set of answers here. Okay, and the quarterly down here. We're looking at this set of answers and they are correct. All right, next one we will consider is monthly. All right, so we are going to monthly, and monthly you would expect the 12 months per year. So that is the column for PY, and this is the column for CY. Okay, so that is what will happen. Now this will get what? 3 times how much? 3 times 12. All right, and that would give us a value of 36, but you cannot enter values like that. It has to be one value. So let's erase those and everything, it gets happy again, right? Now the interest rate is 7%. And we know that the amount, the present value right up there is how much? 200. Okay, or we could put negative, like I told you, for the payment. And then we go and use the calculator to get the future value and the interest earned. So let's do that. Let's go to Word now, and we are considering, what are we considering? We are doing the monthly. Quarterly, now it is monthly. Let's put it in bold, monthly. Okay, so there we are. Frequency would be monthly. All right, your PY would be 12, CY would also be 12, and this one I told you it's 3 years, so 3 times 12 will give us 36. Okay, interest rate is still 7%. It didn't go anywhere. Okay, and yes, the next line is also, this is monthly. Okay, present value is $200, payment is 0, and we will compute the future value, correct? So we go to CPT, and that is the compute. All right, and there we are. So now let's do it again. Okay, PY and CY, I think you know by now, we go to second IY, and now the value is 12. So 12, enter, and that is PY. CY is also 12. Okay, so PY is 12 is equal to 12, CY is equal to 12. So we don't need to enter it. We can quit now. We go second CPT, quit. Remember, it's just above CPT. So to activate it, we need a second, and there we are. Now we still have 3 years, okay? So we enter 3. Sorry, we press on the button 3, the number 3, and second n multiplies 3 times 12, and that gives us the 36. And to enter it, we click on n again. So now n is equal to 36. So 36 is the number for n, or n is equal to 36. All right, it has been entered. Now 7 is already in IY. If you wish, you could recall IY, and you see it has 7. But if you still want to, you can put 7 IY, and there we are. Present value will also be 200 because that is what we had in there, or we have a negative 200. It doesn't really matter, but we have a negative 200, so it's there already. We don't really need to re-enter it, but if we choose to, we go 200 plus minus and present value. Okay, 0 for the payment. If we recall the payment, it is also 0. So 0 for the payment. And then we compute the future value and get 246.59. 246.59. And over here, we should get 46.59. Okay, let's go down here and we can get the interest earned equal to what we did before, future value minus the present value. And that's equal to what? Future value is 246.59. Then we subtract the present value, 200, and we get 46.59. Okay, so that is the answer here. There we are, 246.59. Of course, maybe we can do both. Let's see what happens if we get them both. Okay, 246.59. That is the answer. Let's go back here. And we get the answer for monthly, 246.59. And this is 46.59. Okay, so that is a monthly. And we can submit the question. We are on monthly. Okay, so that's the one we're checking. And there we are. It's correct. 12, 12, 36, 7. 7 is the interest. And then 200 payment is 0, future value is correct, 246.59, and the interest earned is 46.59. Okay, lastly, we will do the frequency that is compounded daily. All right, so this is compounded daily, so this would be 365, because remember what the instructions say, it doesn't matter if it's a leap year, okay? Because you might say, well, if it's more than 4 years, then 4 or more years, then it has to include a leap year. So there's no such compensation for it. I think the banks also do not, they use 365 to avoid any of that problem. All right, now this is not quite that easy to multiply, so we'll use the calculator. Let's go back to the Word document and use the calculator, and then we can come back and enter the numbers. All right, so here we are. We are back, and we can now say that this one is what? This one is daily. All right, so we come here, daily, and we get 365. We get 365, and then I'll use the calculator to get the value for n. And where else do we go? Well, this seems to have gotten chopped off, so we can try to put it up here. Might work. Okay, yes, it did. So let us add present value is still $200. Payment is 0, and we are required to compute the future value and the interest earned. Okay, so compute the future value and the interest earned. Okay, so n is really what? N is really 3 times 365, and that's equal to some number. Okay, let's use the calculator now. Okay, second IY, that gets us to the PY, and we want 365 in there, enter. And then we go to CY, it is there already. So now we can quit. We can get out of there by clicking on second CPT. All right, we put in the 3 years now, this 3 right here. And we go second N. Remember, you have to click on that N again to get the number, to enter the value into N. So it's 1095, that is the number. Okay, IY is 7. So if we recall it, we can see it's 7. We don't really need to enter it. If we recall the present value, that is 200 or negative 200, if you like to put it in and get a positive value for the future value. Okay, 0 for the payment. And then if we compute the future value, we get 246.73. 246.73. And the interest earned would be 46.73. All right, because this number is equal to, seeing we're running out of space down there, I'll just put it in here. Future value minus present value is equal to this number. All right, so that is what is happening here. So that's the future value right there. That's the present value right there. Future value is 246.73. Present value is 200 or 200. We subtract and we get 46.73. Okay, so this is one answer here. And then this is one answer over here. All right, so let's put those numbers in. 246.73. So let's put the answers in here. 246.73, and then this is 46.73. All right, we can enter these. The present value is 200, payment is 0, and we had a couple of numbers to enter in here, 1095 for N and 7 for IY, the interest. All right, that having been done, we submit it, and the Answers are correct. We're looking at this one right here, daily. Okay, so there we are. That row is correct, and so is this one. And that brings us to the end of question number 1 of quiz 1. All right, so we've done every part of it, all 5 parts of it, and now we can end the recording.